Shout out to the gayest podcast out there with Ross and Calum, Jiu Jitsu Oracle.
It's CJI 2 week. Welcome to the Jiu Jitsu Oracle. Hopefully we have lots of content heading up to the big show. First video is going to talk about a slightly disappointing situation where Gable Steveson has seemingly withdrawn from his match against Craig Jones at the event, which was going to be a super fight on day 2. So on this video with me, Ross, and him, Calum, we're going to chat about that situation and what we'd like to see Craig Jones do instead of facing Gable. So first off, Calum, what do you think about the match being off?
I wasn't the most excited for the match. I do think Craig needs to have some sort of match, just being the face of the organization. And then with Gordon out of competing, he is probably the biggest name in the sport. Yeah, the match was intriguing, but I think as long as he can find another suitable or interesting opponent, I'm not super fussed. The injury itself was a toe injury. We had a little discussion before press and record. I thought for a grappling match, it's like I've potentially broken or like really hurt toes in the past. I don't think it impedes grappling that much, but at the same time, I think you had some points that with the kind of toe turf injury or whatever it is specifically, it can maybe lead to some long-term foot stability issues. So if he wants to go into MMA and he's going to be like striking and on his feet, if that is going to be a long-term injury, then fair enough. But if it is just like broken or whatever, I didn't really see how you can just shoot it up with painkillers. But yeah, you seem to think there was some sort of potential long-term injury that could come of that.
First off, syringes and grappling. Come on, as if that's ever going to happen. Second, I don't actually know what the injury specifically is because I hadn't heard from Gable about it, but what has been put out is that he is suffering from what I believe is called turf toe. And I was thinking you more like it might affect his wrestling because if you put pressure on the toe, it can be problematic. But I think it's more of an issue for people who throw balls. So a quarterback with turf toe gets difficult to throw the football accurately. Perhaps a baseball pitcher. You fans of American sports that are watching or listening, jump to the comments and let me know what you think. I mean, wrestling with shoes on, if you have turf toe, I don't know how difficult it is. Again, how much wrestling would there actually be in this match? Because short of Craig doing some clowning, I think he would be wanting to sit down pretty quick. So I'm not sure. Maybe Gable has an MMA fight scheduled. I think it's 12 days after this event. So maybe he just thought, I'm just going to focus on MMA. Maybe he never wanted to do the match. Maybe it's an excuse. Who knows? Match isn't happening. I'm not a doctor specialized in toe injuries, so I'm only speculating based upon what I've seen in other sports. It's a shame that Craig's currently not got a match. Like you said, I wasn't super excited about the Gable match. It's a name, but I didn't really feel the vibe of it. You know, like really good wrestler coming in. Craig's just going to sit down, probably attack the legs. Like, what's the excitement there? So I think this is a good opportunity now to get someone else in for Craig to face. So before we jump into that side of it, is there anything else you want to say on the match being off before we maybe suggest some names who Craig could face?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so you got a name who Craig could face?
Yeah, one I seen in the comment section that is maybe a bit far-fetched given the name value and what he's just achieved, but I don't know what sort of money they have to throw at him. I've seen this person take on like grappling matches before, but Hamzat Chimaev I saw was a pretty interesting suggestion. He's from Chechnya, not Dagestan, so you've not quite got the rivalry, but they're very similar as far as their grappling style, and obviously they're right next door to each other, so you can have that angle from it. I think if they were to do that match, I think if they made it like a no leg lock match, it would be a lot more interesting. But yeah, that's maybe a bit far-fetched. I think that would be very cool if they were able to get that, especially with the thing going on with the UFC and their grappling, and then Craig taking a stance against that. Probably makes it even more unlikely, but as a far-fetched suggestion, I quite like that.
Far-fetched suggestions are fine just now. I just think they have to cast the net wide. Like you said, Craig's the biggest name of any individual grappler taking part in the event. We're not getting Gordon Ryan in this. I think getting Craig in a match definitely helps with the interest level. I put up a poll on the Oracle Instagram during the week. I said, what's your feeling going into the event? Are you super hyped? Are you interested but not excited? Are you a bit underwhelmed, or are you just not feeling it? And I think it was about 2/3 said super hyped, about 1/3 said interested but not excited. I'm in that camp. Like, I'm interested in the event. I will watch it. I think once the brackets are released, come on, hurry up with the brackets. There's no excuse for not having them out. I'll get a bit more interested in potential matchups that can take place between individuals. But I think like a big match for Craig would definitely up my level, perhaps towards excitement, if they get the right guy. I think you've thrown out like an intriguing name and stated reasons why it won't happen. Just like, there's no way UFC will let it happen. It's probably too short notice for someone like who specializes in MMA to then take on a jiu-jitsu match or whatever. You know, it's like, but it's a good idea, right? And it's like, I think they need to be thinking outside the box and try to bring in someone who's got a better name value. One I saw, which is perhaps more realistic, but won't have as much spice to it, but it's a big name in grappling, would be Keenan Cornelius. Craig, seemingly, this could be his last match before retirement, or certainly stepping away for a while. Keenan has been not on the competition scene for a while. I think the last time I saw him compete was in like a local event in California, but he's certainly not, and that was a while ago. I think it was in the gi, but he's been focusing on running his school. But still, like, a huge name in grappling, and certainly like a huge name amongst internet grappling fans who make up the bulk of the CJI audience. If you throw Keenan enough money, would he do it? I mean, you've got some thoughts on how the match could possibly go if it did take place, which we'll come to. But first off, like, a name like Keenan against Craig, would that do anything for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really struggling to think outside of like UFC fighters. Just grapplers, like, not really have that many names that I find that interesting. Like, maybe some of the only names I would find interesting are already competing for a team. Like if they did Craig versus Giancarlo, because I think Craig always had the potential to win that 88 kilo division, and then Giancarlo's the one that's won it the last couple times. So for that reason, I would like to see that match. But obviously, Giancarlo's competing for a new wave, so excluding UFC fighters and excluding grapplers that are already in the event, like, it's pretty slim pickings. So I think Keenan is a pretty good suggestion, especially for name value, even though I don't think the match would be that competitive these days.
Because?
Well, I think the thing going against Craig, from what I've seen, is fitness, just because one of the last times I've seen him rolling was against Kit Dale, and he absolutely slaughtered Kit Dale. He tapped him like a million times, but like his head looked purple and red, like classic alcoholic's head. And he just didn't look very fit or in shape at all. So that's the thing going against him. But they had a match in Polaris like years ago, and Craig won that match. But since then, I think Craig's gotten like way better, way more dangerous. And Keenan just, after he left Atos, just didn't seem as sharp. You know, being in that training room in Atos with a bunch of the best guys in the world, he was very sharp. He was very much in shape. Looks like he got a little bit out of shape once he opened his own gym and just didn't look as sharp. Seeing him roll against the likes of Nicky Ryan and get pretty dominated in training, given it is just training, but that's all we've really got to go off of from Keenan the past few years, because he's not competed. So yeah, getting dominated by Nicky Ryan, and then Craig does somewhat play with Nicky Ryan when they roll as well. So I wouldn't see it being overly competitive, but maybe Craig would have a more relaxed attitude in the match and some things could happen. But yeah.
What about a name that's been involved in a bit of internet controversy recently? Jake Shields.
I thought you were going to say Rampage Jackson or
Rampage Jackson's son. Yeah, probably best not to involve him just now. If you're not up to date with what happened at a pro wrestling event, really like horrible incident. You can Google it and find out more. But no, Jake Shields, he of the guy who promoted Derek Moneyberg to black belt. So he's got a bit of hype about him just now on the internet, and he's not got an association with friendship or whatever with like DDS going back a while. Or am I misremembering that?
Yeah, no, he does have a relationship with DDS. I think they've definitely faced before. I feel like Craig submitted him pretty quickly with his classic like Z guards into the saddle. And Craig's a lot better now than he was then, and Jake is probably the same, if not worse, just being older. So again, I don't see it being super competitive or interesting, but yeah, it is like.
Does it have to be? I think there's going to be loads of like super competitive, really exciting battles with the top athletes in certain weight classes through the event. I think a match with like a bit of something else about it's a good thing. I think Craig, at his stage in grappling, try to find an opponent that works for him is probably sensible. Because I don't want to waste the match on like a really good grappling match but the guy's got no name value that Craig's up against, really. In terms of Tom DeBlas, yeah.
Have an angle of Craig being a bully, and obviously Tom DeBlas doesn't take bullying lightly, so that could be the angle for that match, maybe.
I think they're friends now, though, aren't they? In a way, like there's a working relationship there. I think. What about if Mo Jassim hired a sort of hitman, as it were, to come in for revenge? Some sort of ADCC legend that, even although that's kind of like that was last year's vibe, you could just play off it in a way. Some guy who's like massively decorated in ADCC.
I do remember Andre Garval after the last CJI saying he would want to be involved in the second one. He's not on his team, but that actually, now that that's sprung to mind, is probably the biggest match they could make and the most interesting one if Andre would be up for it.
So what do you think, Craig v Andre? How'd you see that going?
I don't know Andre's physicality status, whether he's taking supplements at the moment or not, whether he was like physically involved in the camp for CGI. If he was and he's taking his like vitamin D and his zinc and everything, then I probably would favor Andre because, like I say, Craig isn't looking in shape otherwise, and I think it could be a bit more competitive. We'd have to see.
I think really difficult with what I've seen based on the scheduling of the event, because if Atos get to the final, then I believe the Craig match happens before the final. But I think in terms of suggestions,
they could move some stuff around. So
yeah,
for this,
I think we've stumbled upon a really good name for a potentially interesting match. So there you have it. The Oracle's suggestion for the replacement match at CGI 2 for Craig Jones is Craig Jones, event organizer, against ADCC legend and Atos chief Andre Galval. If you've got any ideas, jump into the comments. Let us know what you think, and we'll be back with plenty of content on CGI 2 through the week. So please like and subscribe and tell your friends and keep watching our videos.